Hello, I am the Heart of Reviews. Night 2 is Where Are You Christmas, starring Lyndsy, Fonseca, and Michael Rady, one of my personal favorites. And this movie, it happened. This movie happened. Okay, this movie it sure was a movie.
My favorite thing about the movie is it feels like a movie.
Can that be my review? Is that it? That's all you need? Okay, cut. Bye. Plot summary. Lyndsy Fonseca, her name is Addie. She is your classic workaholic. She used to love Christmas, but now she does it as a job, and so now she doesn't care about Christmas anymore. And she goes back home to her hometown for Christmas, blowing off the Maldives because her brother is planning to propose to his girlfriend, Sienna. She hasn't been home in quite a few years, so her father, Gary, Gary, his real name Gary, from Parks and Rec, is very upset that she hasn't been home in about 6 years, so he's just sort of avoiding her and being very stubborn and very rude. This makes her sad, so she wishes that Christmas never happened. And because she makes an app that reminds you to get your wishes into Santa. I don't see how this is commercially viable, but for some reason she has this app that she has created. Because of this app, it hears her wish, and Santa grants this to her, and she gets into a car accident, and then when she gets out, everything is black and white, and Christmas no longer exists. She's the only person who can remember Christmas. She gets saved by the town's new mechanic, Mr. Michael Rady, whose name is Hunter. Then it's her job to make everyone remember Christmas, or else it'll all be locked in by Christmas Day, and everyone will be in black and white forever. Oh yeah, did I already say? Everyone is in black and white now, until they remember Christmas, and then they become in color. Except she's not in color, even though she remembers Christmas. Why? We don't know. We never know. We never actually figure that out, ever. That's it. She has to save Christmas. How all these rules came about, we don't know. She doesn't explain. But she says she only has a few days to fix it all, so she better do it. That's the plot. Yeah. This movie has everything. Workaholic who goes to the islands over Christmas. A black mayor. Full cast of white people with several people of color with no backstories. Gazebos. Women helping to plan festivals when it is not their job to plan the festivals. This had a real meta aspect in that it was making fun of Hallmark movies while also being an incredibly classic Hallmark movie. It had all of the things. However, there's one line that made me legitimately laugh out loud. So because Christmas doesn't exist, clearly, Hallmark commercialism is still going to exist. So instead of Christmas movies, they make 100 New Year's movies. And the mom is like, we have to get ready for our movie marathon.
Every year, they make 100 New Year's movies, and they start airing them in June.
Which is really funny, because it's October, and I'm in a Christmas shirt. So this sounds like your very classic It's a Wonderful Life type kind of movie. She just has to save Christmas. That has to be just cute and fun. But this movie takes several dark turns that you are just not expecting. So right off the bat, she meets Michael Rady, Hunter, and she's like, I don't want you. I want the guy who really owns this shop. You need to get him for me. And Hunter goes, I wish I could. All dreamy, and you're like, oh, okay, this man has died. His grandfather has died, and now he is running the auto repair shop. And I don't know that he's very good at it or likes it. He's the only person working there. He has several cars. He doesn't seem to have a very good turnaround time, so I don't know why people continue to use him. Also, no one really seems to know that he is alive or exists. So I don't really understand how he's making a living. And he starts talking about how he's reclusive. He doesn't like people. He doesn't like talking to people. He doesn't like seeing people. And you're like, oh, what happened to this man? Because he has a veteran's service ring, she's like, oh, clearly he's a veteran. She actually gets into her accident because she finds the veteran's ring that he somehow dropped in her car when he was taking a look at it. Because her car was broken. Her engine just doesn't work. So she took it to the repair shop. She said, hey, is this safe to drive? And he was like, yeah, whatever. Like I said, I don't think that he's a good mechanic. Then she got into a massive accident where everything became black and white. Speaking of, she went to the doctor and she said, hey doc, everything's in black and white and no one knows what Christmas is. And he was just like, maybe you're stressed about work. The doctor isn't concerned that everything is now in black and white. He's not gonna send her to an optometrist. Who diagnoses color blindness? How do you just do that? Just take the online test? Is there something, can they like see your cones? I feel like someone should have done something because that is concerning. Nobody seems to care. She could have a concussion. I mean, I know they checked her out, but what? This movie was weird. I could tell that it wasn't good, but I was really invested in Hunter's story. I was like, why is this man so tortured? You know, he's all like, my grandfather won't forgive me. For what? What did you do? Did you kill him? Did you? Spoilers. He did not kill him. He just had intense PTSD from serving in the army. Turns out the ring was not his, but his grandfather's, who served in Vietnam. And then he went into the army, had intense PTSD, didn't want to talk to people, became a recluse in a cabin, didn't answer his grandfather's calls, and his grandfather died. And now he's sad and he feels guilty for that. I think it's great that we're dealing with PTSD and male depression. They don't really do anything about it other than say, feel the joy of Christmas and you're healed, maybe. But really they were like, you know, you need to experience friends and family and going outside is very good for you. But really I was invested because of this man's story, and they revealed it kind of early, and I was like, oh, okay, well, now what do I have to be invested in? And then I think the filmmakers realized this, and they said, well, now we need something that's also still dramatic. And the movie just went from, as my mother put it, corny and quirky, to just vaguely traumatic. So because no one remembers Christmas, everyone's in black and white because they don't have color, they don't have joy. I understand it because Christmas also brings me color and joy. Feels a little offensive to other religions, but we're just gonna, this is Hallmark. Only Christmas exists here right now in October. Because Christmas doesn't exist, certain things are not happening. Parents are angrier. Teachers want to die. It sounds just like living in Florida right now. Her brother no longer wants to propose to his girlfriend. So I have questions about that. He only wants to propose because of the Christmas spirit. Is that a good enough reason to propose? If you don't want to propose the week after Christmas, maybe you shouldn't be getting married. Christmas makes me feel love and joy, but that makes me feel kind of uncomfortable about the power that Christmas has over us. That feels like a little too much. So then they go to the school to talk to the teacher who usually runs the Christmas pageant in her 1 week of downtime a year. First of all, he doesn't want to be seen by the world because he's embarrassed and guilty. So he comes in just like wrapped in a scarf, just head to toe wrapped in a scarf. You cannot get into school grounds looking like that, let me just say. Even in a place like Red Lake Falls, definitely cannot just like walk into a school like that. You need to show some form of ID and also your face. Your face would be nice. The teacher is not freaked out until he takes off the scarf and he's in color because he remembers Christmas. And she screams at his face and what he looks like, which that's rude. You're not supposed to do that. And then she starts touching his face and asking if his color rubs off. I had a lot of questions. Was this all a large metaphor for racism? Was it a large metaphor for religion? I was vaguely uncomfortable. I think it's just a large metaphor for what Christmas means to people and the color that it brings. But the fact that it was so focused on legitimate skin color was concerning. The movie ended with Michael Rady, a white man, saying to Lyndsy Fonseca,
"You are beautiful, whatever color you are."
Which I get that he meant black and white or legitimately in color. Hallmark has to exist in a world where there is no racism because there's no way that a person can say that to another white person with a straight face. It really just took me out of the moment. I was like, I know what you mean. I've been following this movie. That line doesn't sound like you think it does, I think. It also doesn't help that all the main cast are just white people. And then there's just like, you know, Sienna is a person of color, her black best friend with no backstory is a person of color, the mayor, the classic side characters. So then the movie becomes like Footloose. And I'm talking an insanely dark Footloose. So at first her dad is just like, I'm angry that you haven't been here in 6 years. And then in this post-Christmas world, to paraphrase Riverdale, he just becomes a monster. He's on the town council. The mayor's also a monster. And he's angry that people are starting to be in color because that surely is evil. And so he starts putting a ban on decorations of all kinds because he doesn't like this Christmas thing, or that people are starting to have joy and be happy. So then he starts telling his wife, who's now in color, and his daughter, who's still not in color but does believe in Christmas, that they are crazy and hurtful and ruining people's lives. Felt like they were about to burn her like a witch. I was really getting scared, and watching a bunch of men tell women that they are insane, not something that I like to see, especially in like a happy family Christmas movie. Especially when her brother, a cop, comes in and is like, "You're hurting people, Addie." I was like, by reminding them of Christmas joy, by taking their lives from black and white to color. And yet again, then I was like, is this a racism metaphor? Why are we so mad that people are going from black and white to color? I don't, because then it was like the black and white people versus the color people. What are we trying to say here? Hallmark, what are we trying to say? And then you find out that her dad's just angry because he feels like he's losing everyone and that everything's changing and he's having trouble remembering because he can't remember Christmas. But then I'm like, is it about aging? Is it a dementia metaphor? Is it just our changing relationships with our parents? And I think that it's all of these, but it's also just, it's confusing. This is a very confusing film. I get that this is just a Hallmark movie. If I were in black and white and then suddenly someone reminded me of Christmas, an entire holiday, an entire subsection of my life that I had forgotten about, and I suddenly remembered everything, and then I was in color, I would be horrified. I wouldn't be like, oh, this is the best day of my life, let me go plan a Christmas carnival. No, I would be very concerned. Nobody was even like, magic, that's weird. They just accepted it as fact. Sure. And except for the people who got all footloosey, and even then it wasn't like, this is weird that people are in black and white. It was like, I'm angry that women are telling people to be happy. And then nobody even apologizes. When everyone becomes in color, nobody's even like, I'm so sorry that I wanted to burn you at the stake. So I guess she was in black and white the whole time and not color because she thought that life was about accomplishment, but not purpose. She was doing things just to do them, so she was remembering Christmas just for the sake of remembering Christmas, but not because of the joy. It certainly seemed like she had a lot of joy when she was singing Jingle Bells at the top of her lungs. But then we have a kiss for ulterior motives, which is very interesting. We don't typically see those in Hallmark. We see interrupted kisses, but we never see like pointless kisses that are not for love. So that was big. She kissed Michael Rady. Yes, she likes him, but because she thought it would turn her back. I was about to be really upset if it turned her back because I was like, this isn't how this is worked. You don't just kiss someone and get your color back. Like, you have to remember Christmas. And she still did kiss him later and get her color back, which I personally don't think makes a lot of sense. I get it that she was finally doing something with purpose, doing something for herself, but that's still not the conceit that we were working with. However, the second kiss was pretty sexy. It was pretty cute. Michael Rady's great. So anything he does, I'm here for it. They had a lot of chemistry despite the fact that they really didn't talk in the movie. Like, he told her his tragic backstory and she said, that sounds really hard. And then he said, yeah. And then that's about it. That's about all they did. And then they like talked to people about Christmas, but their journeys were kind of separate. So I honestly would have been fine with them just sort of being like, hey, you want to go on a date maybe? But no, they went for it. But that's okay. I have some questions. I'm going to go through my questions because this movie gave me far more questions than it did answers. Why is every parent just not very good? You have the doctor and he hates his daughter because they got into an argument that he doesn't even remember about lasagna. And now they'll never speak again, except unless Christmas magic heals them. I get that Christmas is powerful, but again, I just feel like it's not good. It's not good when the only thing that can save your relationship is Christmas. Like, there's something going wrong there. Do you understand? Like, Christmas shouldn't be a stand-in for therapy. It really shouldn't. Get a therapist and stop being so stubborn. Let your daughter back into your life. Another question I have is, why did I start crying when Michael Rady's character remembered Christmas and then said, how could I forget Christmas? I did shed a tear. That was really beautiful. Why couldn't the whole movie just be that? Why did it take her like 12 hours between crashing her car and then getting dropped off at her house? Is Michael Rady's tow truck that slow? Yet again, I am asking, is he a good mechanic? And I think the answer is no. So we know that her job only exists because of Christmas. So if Christmas doesn't exist, what is her job? Because her parents, they're like, your job. You have to go do your job. You have a job. What do they think it is if Christmas doesn't exist? Couldn't she have been like, hey, what do I do? And then they would have been like, you do the Christmas things. Oh, we remember Christmas. this, but no. Okay, also, what does she do? She has an app that Santa wakes you up every morning at like 6 a.m. to say the exact same phrase every morning about making your Christmas wish. How does that help her? How does that help anyone? And then it's like a shipping company? Is it Amazon? Is she like, hey, buy things from Amazon? Because that's not what Santa's saying. Also, why is Santa just Jim O'Hare? Jim O'Hare, who plays her father, is also the voice of Santa. He has a very recognizable voice. And that just didn't make a lot of sense because she hasn't seen her father in years. The whole reason for this movie. Because he's angry at her. But clearly it's him. So, what? Why doesn't she know Hunter? She grew up in Red Lake Falls. Clearly, we have the diary entries to prove it. Even a photo of her when she was 18 where she looked 6. I can't judge, but still. He clearly says that his grandfather, who was the town's mechanic for years, raised him. Why has she never met him? Why has no one ever met him? Nobody knows who this man is. That just doesn't make any sense at all. That makes zero logical sense. Is he like way older than her? Younger? Even so, the townspeople would know about him. He was a kid and his grandfather was a big deal. Make it make sense. If I were a woman, I am a woman. If I were a woman, I'm still gonna start with this sentence, and a man who just told me about all of the violent things he'd seen in war took me to the middle of the woods with an axe and didn't tell me why. A man who claims he grew up in my town, who I have never met before. I would not go. But she goes. They're just walking through the woods, having a little stroll, having a little chat. And then he says, oh, I'm here to chop down a Christmas tree with his axe. She wasn't just like, oh, why do you have that axe there, buddy? Why are you taking me to the woods with an axe? Maybe he could have started with, I'm gonna go chop down a Christmas tree. Would you like to join me? The logic in any character was not there. And I know, I get that we live in a Hallmark world, but for a movie that goes this dark randomly with the whole Footloose bit, I feel like could have had a question about axes. Why are journalists always solving the mystery of the lost penny in Hallmark movies? And they're never covering towns like this that are suddenly all in black and white and forget Christmas. Seriously, why was no one horrified? Why was no one freaking out? That's weird. It's weird. Everything that happened in this movie was strange. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Dolly Parton Christmas movie on Netflix, the one with Josh Segarra, but that's a weird movie. This one might be just as weird. And Dolly Parton impregnates a woman as an angel in that movie to bring like the second coming of Jesus. But this movie is also weird. You heard it first from Hallmark, the paragon of anti-racism.
You are beautiful. Whatever color you are.
Which is, it's a great message. It's also weird just because like the metaphor there is that you're in color if you have Christmas in your heart. So is he saying that you're beautiful even if you hate Christmas? Because they were really doing a bang up job trying to make everyone believe in Christmas again. What are they saying? I mean, I get that it's sort of just like, here's a sexy line, like, oh, you're so beautiful. I don't even care if you're black and white forever because I love you so much, which like that's great, unconditional love. You know what, I had a lot of fun and I was invested. I was also mostly invested because I had so many questions and I wanted answers. And did I get them? Not even one little bit, but I certainly have more questions that will keep me up at night for years to come. Thanks, Hallmark. This has been the Heart of Reviews. Thank you for watching. Links in the doobly-doo. More videos and strange movies to come, I'm sure.